Hey, Fran fam. Welcome to Life and Style with Francyne. I am your host, Francyne Walker. Thanks for joining me today. So, imagine going to the doctor and you're going in for just a biopsy. And you wake up, and after you wake up, the doctor lets you know that they severed a nerve and you no longer have use of your arm. That would be pretty devastating. Well, that's what happened to my guest today. She's here to talk about that experience and how she turned that all the way around and regained use of her arm. So please join me in welcoming Monica Pellegrino to the show. Hi, Monica. I love your blue hair and your energy. So, you know, happier times today, obviously, but go back to how long ago was this?
10 years ago.
10 years ago. Okay. So tell us, give us some more background because I'm sure you were devastated.
Absolutely. So, we had actually a lot of health conditions and things like that were running through my family pretty rampant. One of them was cancer. So, anytime we would see something show up on us, we would go to the doctor and get checked out. Now, a few times, just lymph node, go and check it, aspirate it. Everything was good, benign, everything. So, I started experiencing a little bit of pinging down my arm one day. So, I went
Sure.
to the doctor and he found like a lump right in here. And I said, well, I've had lymph nodes swelling before that won't go down, so maybe not such a big deal. So we go to do the whole procedure. It wouldn't aspirate. They couldn't get anything out. So we had to go under the knife. Now, my poor mother was at this surgery where they tell her I'll be in there for under an hour. And I was
Sure.
under the knife for a couple of hours as she's sitting there going, what's going on? So the
Yeah.
doctor came out and just told her that it looked like I had sarcoma cancer. So, which, if you're not familiar with what that is, it is just tumors in the body, but it is one of the most dangerous cancers out there. So,
Sure.
he thought his executive decision was to get rid of it. Let's take it out. Let's biopsy it.
So was
Unfortunately,
it cancer? I don't mean to cut you off. Was it cancer?
it's not. It came
He
back
thought
not.
it was.
Yeah, he thought it was. And because of my
Okay.
family history, I understood. I was
Right.
like,
Okay.
okay, no big deal. So I wake up from this surgery thinking I'm just having a routine biopsy. And, you come out of surgery, you're completely out of your mind after anesthesia. And the doctor's looking at me and having a serious conversation with me, just basically saying he found a tumor that was inside of my nerve. So it wasn't a lymph node at all. There was just this random freak thing that there was a tumor inside of my nerve casing.
Sure.
The only way he could get it out was cutting on both ends of the nerve. So I wake up to find out I might have cancer, but also for him to tell me that because he cut into my nerve, I will probably never have full function of my left arm again.
My goodness.
So, as you can imagine, in your mid 20s, you're like,
Yeah.
My immediate thought, because I was in a relationship at the time, was how am I going to carry a baby? You
Yeah.
start thinking about all these different things. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I wait tables. I work with dogs. I need both my arms. So it was very scary. It was a little bit. And of course, right after I found out, I got very depressed. And I just thought to myself, they're literally telling me there's no hope. So I went to doctor. They sent me to physical therapy, all of this other stuff, and nothing was really working.
Yeah.
So I decided to do research because I was not going to live my life like that. I said, there's got to be a solution. And I started researching.
Yeah.
Now, I developed very bad atrophy. It's still there. You can clearly see I'm missing my deltoid muscle. It is bone when you see me like just in skin. And people won't
Sure.
notice it unless I show them. But then when they see it, they're like, oh my goodness, there's like no muscle mass there. And I'm like,
Yeah.
There was
Yeah.
also no feeling from my shoulder down to my elbow. And all I could do was literally use my other arm to like prop this up to get it situated. It would just hang.
Oh my
And
God,
oh,
girl.
yeah. Oh yeah. And I think
Mm,
people forget that we have appendages on our body to keep us balanced. That's why your arms sway when you walk.
exactly.
So I was falling down more. I was catching myself off balance. It was just really bad. But then I just serendipitously found a Chinese medicine lady. Now, and I knew some stuff about massage and energy. So I had some basis, but never Chinese medicine.
Yeah.
And she invited me to come and just talk to her. Did not tell her anything about me. Chinese medicine. She takes my hand, she read my pulse, looked into my eyes, and told me everything that was wrong with me.
Wow.
I honestly, I was flabbergasted, and I was like, I need to know. Help me. Like, how did you do that? And she said one of the biggest things that ever stuck with me in Chinese medicine and other cultures, they do not diagnose. What they do is they just find where your energy is not going as freely. So all she was
Wow.
doing was reading energy in my body. How's my heartbeat, blood pressure, all of that. I sat there in amazement while this woman told me about my asthma as a child, told me about personal things about my reproductive system I never told anybody.
Yeah.
And then looks right at me and goes, "No energy in your left arm. What's that?" And and then I told her, and she goes, "Don't listen to them. I help you." I'll never forget it for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
She taught me about meridians and shiatsu, which is what they have. So, energetic lines in the body, and then there's points that are all connected to these energetic lines. And she said, when energy is not flowing through one thing, it's stagnant energy. It's going to get stuck. So, the more I wasn't using my arm, the worse I was actually making the rest of my body. So, even though it was something I couldn't control, it was starting to affect the other side of my neck, my other hip. So she suggested for me to start doing massage regularly, which shiatsu massage, which is a
And
little
what
more
is
intense.
shiatsu massage, Monica? Explain how that is different from, just a regular massage, because there's different, there's reflexology, there's Swedish massage. How is shiatsu massage different?
So when I actually am a massage therapist as well, because of
Okay.
course I wanted to go to school after I learned all this
Of
stuff.
course. Yeah.
So Swedish massage or just a regular run of the mill massage is basically the goal is to just get all the lymphatics going, making sure you're touching all parts of the body. If there's a
Hmm.
part that there's a little tight, you just want to work it a little bit more. But in shiatsu, it's not like let's hang out in this area and work it. It's following those meridians and the points along the meridians. So they're still massaging like you'd get a regular massage, but they're going in certain directions of the energetic line and they press into certain points in the body. And all of these points are going to correlate to the line in the body that runs basically most of them from fingers up top to toes.
Sure.
So that's how you can find the congestion of the energy not moving in the body. So, and they were very honest with me. We all want to go to massage and relax, right? And be like, this feels so good. They
Yeah.
were very honest with me that it was not going to be pleasant at first. And I was a little nervous. And the reason being is because if you think about a part of your body you never touch, you never use, and then all of a sudden you just like gently press, you're like, ooh, don't touch much there. It's
Yeah.
kind of the same concept in shiatsu.
Hmm.
There's certain points in their body that they don't touch for regular massage. Like they go into the armpit and they go into like the top inner hip, things like that. And they'll
Sure.
press in and move your legs as well. So it's more of an active massage.
Yeah.
So yes. And then they give you
Because you're
time.
reconnecting, you're more or less trying to reconnect energy, or
Boom.
restart the flow, get the flow of both sources or both ends of energy to kind of connect, I would imagine, because there's no flow. So you got to connect so there can be a flow.
Correct. And this Eastern Chinese medicine, she helped me tremendously in 2 months more than No offense to the Western medicine,
Yeah.
but these guys just wanted to give me a pill for the pain because I
Yeah.
was in pain. They wanted me to do physical therapy. And I'm like, okay, well, and I was very blessed. I have family that are physical therapists and they were helping me. But then at some point they're like, well, those are the exercises. I mean, there's really nothing else left. But then I started thinking about what is it that is it just the surgery that caused this? So, and then this is where I started learning about energy and having signs or things that tell you, hey, don't do that anymore.
Sure.
Hey, we need a lifestyle change. We're all looking for those signs, right? We're always asking for them. Is this the right thing? Is this not? I was in a transitional part of my life and I was getting clear signs to move on. And I was being that stubborn spiritual person at first. And I was like, no, I'm staying where I'm at. I'm staying where I'm at.
Yeah.
The universe sometimes does something to strongly make you move.
Wow.
And this was my checkmate, because I mean, I wouldn't even be able to like do a push-up, anything. I couldn't even hold my body weight. It was 3 years ago that I was able to do side plank on this, we call it the healing arm. And
Yeah.
I was able to hold my whole body weight and go up. It was the proudest moment I ever
I
had.
can imagine.
And people who knew me through this whole experience were like, oh my gosh, how did you do this? And my answer was, I never gave up.
Yes.
Now we go
Yeah.
seeking answers and then we get them, but then people will do it for a little bit and they're not getting that instant gratification, or they're not feeling like, they're like, well, I feel like this should be working quicker. It
Right.
doesn't, well, that attitude right there is going to slow it down too.
Now, how long? So you go through this experience. You go to what was the timeline? You go to Western doctors first.
I did. So about 10 years ago, Western doctors, that's where I started. Not that I didn't use them through the past couple years for things that you might need for anything,
Yeah.
but I've probably been Western medicine doctor free for a very long time.
Okay.
Um,
So because you find this out, they tell you this, you're you're adjusting to the loss, you're where you won't have use of your arm to do the things you used to do. At what point did you decide to go to an Eastern medicine doctor? Oh, excuse me, medicine practitioner.
it only took me no more than a year.
Okay.
No more than a year before I was like, someone has got to have an answer for me.
Yeah. You were already kind of conditioned to be in it for the long haul because you had did, what we would normally do. We'd go to, because that's just how we were, cultivated. We'd go to the Western medicine, because that's at our disposal. You know what I mean? You do that first. You're doing all this stuff because we're trusting their expertise, so to speak, even after he made that decision. He made the decision. How did you feel about him making that decision for you while you were under?
I was not a fan.
Okay.
I will say it politely.
Yeah.
I mean, any surgery, they're going to explain certain things to you, just like they would any surgery. There's the possibility you might not wake up. All those like weird, random things that could happen. Not
True.
one was explained to me that I was going to wake up with not being able to use one of my limbs.
Yeah.
And I understand it was a last minute decision. And he said that. I mean, it's even in my doctor's notes that he said it looked like sarcoma and he just made a decision. And, you sign off. You sign off on all of these things saying
That's true. That's true.
If you think that's what you need to do, that's what you need to do. But it was more registering of going, what am I going to do? I've never sat and did a desk job. I always was an active person. I always used both my arms like for my work.
Yeah.
So
you do this for a year. So this has conditioned you, you're in it for the long haul, because this past year or that previous year, nada, other than take a pill, that. Then you decide to consult with Eastern medicine practitioners, and I would imagine for you, you were determined to figure it out. So you stayed in. I mean, you stayed with it, whereas you were desperate. I would imagine you were pretty desperate to get some kind of use back in your arm,
You got
right?
it.
And
Absolutely.
so, but we also have to note you have the atrophy, but you don't have the nerve. So this is a mind thing.
Oh, this is something where when I actually went in to see the doctor who did my surgery, I went in 4 years ago and I just wanted in and I was just in town. So I don't live in the area I was in anymore. And I
Sure.
asked if I could see him. He came out and we talked and I was like, "Do you remember me?" And he was like, now, this is like a very well-known surgeon. So for him to remember anybody, it would be like, that's a big deal. And he was like,
Yeah.
I remember who you are. And I said, "That's so weird." And his face was like, did she just pick up her left arm?
Yeah.
Because to not to be dramatic, and I actually will actually kind of show this, but like
Sure.
legit, all I could do was this with my arm. That's it.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's it. And then I could go like that a little bit. There was
Girl.
nothing. There was no picking up. There was no anything. So, and like the grip was there, but even driving a car was nerve wracking because sometimes my arm just gives out. And not to
Yeah.
say it still doesn't do that now, because since I did have the nerve damage, the only thing I get nervous about still is if I fell backwards. My arm would not be able to catch me like in a good way. It probably
Yeah.
would injure me a little bit more.
Yeah.
So that is the only thing I have left. I mean, when I hike, when I go walking, people don't realize still till this day, because of this, I have vertigo that comes out of nowhere all the time because my head can't rebalance because I'm missing muscle mass here. And I'm already off balance where, like, before, this is what I looked like. Like, this arm was strong, and then this one would just dip all the time. People who worked with me could see a clear difference. And then when I started like balancing out, everybody was like, "Well, what are you doing?" Well, I did the shiatsu. That started helping. So I went to massage school to learn more. I took shiatsu classes. I wanted to know how it worked. So then I started being like, "Oh my goodness." And then I started using my arm more. So I was building more muscle. So I was like doing everything I could to integrate it all together.
Sure.
Then my shiatsu teacher used to open up every class with Yin Yoga. And I was like, "Oh, great, yoga. I'm not going to be able to do this." And then she introduced us to Yin Yoga, which is basically all on the floor. I didn't need my arms for Yin Yoga. And then
No.
I was like, interesting.
Yeah.
So then
So
all of
this is your journey. This is almost a very how do I want to put it? A journey where it's kind of all very maybe I guess I can't think of, I can't wow, I'm at a loss for words. Where it's all just unfolding in such a coincidental way. I'll use that word, where you weren't able to do the yoga. But no, it's not that kind of yoga. It's something that, so it almost sounds like while you weren't really met with the physical demand, so that increased your mental capacity.
you got it.
Hey.
You got it 100%, because still till this day. So now, for the last couple of years, I was living in Costa Rica teaching other people to become yoga teachers, not Yin
Yeah.
Yoga,
Yeah.
regular yoga.
So you went from the Yin yoga on the floor where you didn't need your body, your arms, and now you are a yoga teacher.
I sure am. I'm actually the highest tier now. So they go in
Wow.
tiers.
What
So
does that feel like for you? How do you feel?
I have to be honest, in yoga, they're like, "Don't let your ego get involved," all that stuff. I'm proud of myself.
Heck yeah. Yeah.
I am very, very proud of myself. I cried a lot. I mean, this was painful. This is what people don't realize. Once you if something's stagnant for so long and then you get that little inch and you're like, yes, that inch, it's more of like, I got to breathe through it.
Yeah.
This is where the mental stuff came from, because when I started learning yoga, everybody was like, man, you're really good at this yoga stuff. And then she informed me that yoga had nothing to do with your body. She's like, it's all up here. So then I have this Chinese medicine background, and then started training with this woman with Yin Yoga. I wanted to learn. So I started right then and there in massage school and started asking her all these questions. So I was in massage school and then did the Yin Yoga. Once I graduated, it was 2014 that I graduated from massage school. I went just buck wild. I started doing meditation. I started learning all this other stuff. And everywhere I'm reading is, it's like mind over matter. And everybody's like, oh, they say that. And I'm like, oh, no, it's true. Because if you tell yourself you can't do something, you're not going to do it.
Yeah.
You've
Yeah.
already convinced yourself it's not going to happen. But if I sit there and I go, okay, it might not be the easiest path, but it's going to be the one most worthwhile. I'll take a few tears.
Yeah.
I will take the time that it takes, that I get a little frustrated with myself. But that frustration has always fueled me to get me to where I am.
Sure.
I mean, it's one of those things that I want to say. And when you ask how I feel amazing, because when I go into, and I was teaching these yoga kids, I used to get intimidated, because I'm like, I can teach you to get into anything, but I can't demonstrate it. Right.
Right.
And then one day was like, yoga is not about standing on your hands. And I always knew that. But like in your head, of course, you're just like, man, I want to learn how to do that stuff. But like in this moment, you're like, that might not be for me. But that means I can be the inspiration for other people who don't have upper arm strength, or people who don't have arms at all. Like there's just different things. Like everything is possible. You just have to find a way to make it work for you. And the number one thing is your attitude. You can't give up.
So your story is really about the, you know how they say your attitude determines your gratitude determines your altitude. Your altitude determines your attitude. Attitude. Okay. Rewind. Remix. Whoop, whoop, whoop. You know, your altitude. Your attitude determines your altitude. Gratitude, attitude, altitude, all of those things. It's basically while your story is unique in the initial experience, but anybody watching right now can take something away without having to gone through what you went through.
Exactly.
Because your journey, the entire journey, where you started is not where you ended.
And a lot of people doubted me. A lot of people, because, you know, they're so stuck in the Western mind. They have that, what do we call it? Good patient syndrome.
Yeah.
Well, the doctor told me it's this. And I'll go, okay, well, did you think it might be this? And you can see people looking at me a little weird now. But like, if I'm an expert in anything now, it's the energetic map of the body.
Yeah.
So whether you are into the foofy stuff, all of that, it doesn't matter. Energetically, energy exists. You can ask any scientist.
Sure.
So it's knowing that map of the body and knowing if there's a little less here, we need to find where it's overactive and we need to spread it and balance it back out. It's just that people just accept their energy exactly where it's at. Like someone who's just like, I'm angry. I'm just going to be angry. And then that's it. And then there's me who I'm like, oh, I'm experiencing anger.
Yeah, it's kind of like complicit to your own suffering because you're not open to anything. And it's, you know, like I said earlier, we've been cultivated to embrace Western medicine. And, you know, and that's through media. It's through so many different elements of information where we're conditioned to do that. So, you know, and it's like, it almost feels like Western medicine is intimidated by Eastern medicine because it's like, well, they'll put us out of, you know, they will put us out of commission. It's like, no, let's talk. Western medicine tends to reject a holistic approach,
Yep.
right?
When we should all work together. And that was always my thing. Because if that doctor would have told me that, you know, physical therapy might be hard, but maybe you should get into meditation. I mean, I know some are doing that now, but this was 10 years ago.
Yeah.
I had to figure it out all by myself. And then, like, you know, and then you hear my story and people are just like, whoa. And I said, it wasn't easy. It is the first thing I'm going to tell everybody, because everybody wants that quick fix and they want it to be an easy path. Like, here's how we start and this is our ending point. Let's just keep walking that way. And I'm like, it doesn't work like that, guys.
Yeah.
Here's your starting point. Here's the end point. And you're probably going to do a little slithering.
Exactly. Little wigglies, you know, willies. And wow.
But, you know, I will always tell everybody that, you know, I am one of those people. I do believe everything happens for a reason. And to like touch on that a little. So not knowing what it felt like to lose a limb and to be out of balance all the time, it actually prepped me to take care of my father, who ended up getting Lou Gehrig's disease, or ALS. He passed away in 2016.
Okay.
And when he would tell people, he would feel weird because, like, his arms, he lost his arms first. He's like, I feel like I can't stand. Everybody's like, what is he talking about? And I'm like, I get it. I'm like, sit down, just get a chair. And he's just like, it just feels weird. Like, you just feel off. And I go, you do. And it's hard to explain to people because they're just like, it's just a muscle. It's just an arm. And it's like, no, everything needs to connect in order for us to feel whole. Not that you can't have injury and things like that, but learning how to work with it is kind of where you're at. It's listening to your own body and not taking that there's nothing wrong with you. Because I've had other medical things where doctors are like, oh yeah, no, I don't know. Like, these tests are coming back normal. And then you're like, but my intuition is telling me something else is going on. And you want to trust your own self, who's been living in your own body this whole time, or someone who's reading out of a book that they're diagnosing the same way, no matter what you look like, size, shape, anything. So, you know, it all combines together. But at the end of the day, I'm here to want to inspire people, to let them know that even at the end of the day, when you feel like there's no hope, there is.
Yeah, you just got to be your own advocate. That it sounds like with Western medicine, they kind of groom patients, you know, or I don't know.
That's a polite way of saying
they coddle patients. And what ends up happening, especially if you're a woman, you know, and you ask, you know, a litany of questions, you want a second opinion, you can almost get shot down if you don't put your foot down. I mean, we see it now. We see it with people who are having a baby, and it's like, oh, you're fine. It's like, no, I'm not fine. I'm not fine. So, you know, with Eastern medicine, because you were just, you know, the first visit threw you into this space where you just wanted to know everything. And taking responsibility for your health.
I sure did, because I said to myself, you know what, there's got to be something else out there, because I knew what I was meant to do. And I think ever since a child, I've always known that I was going to be like this story and like inspire people to heal, because we've all been through stuff, right?
Sure.
Whether you want to label like good, bad, ugly, pretty, we've all been through it. But the thing is that sometimes people haven't. And those are the people who want to give you an opinion or give you a suggestion on what to do, which is great. But you can take a back seat unless you did it yourself. And that's kind of, I love everybody's opinion. I want to know, please. But then, like, if I feel that you're talking at me and like you really don't have experience in it, it's not a mean thing. I'm just going, I don't think you're quite understanding what I'm talking about. I'm very polite about it.
Yeah.
But people are definitely programmed to listen to what someone tells them and go, yep, okay.
Yeah. You have to be a rad bad. You have to be a rad bad ass, really. Yes. You know, when it comes to, because for one, They didn't go through what you went through 10 years ago, and come to this point. They didn't travel your journey. They didn't walk in your shoes. So I'm just encouraged and inspired, because it really is about attitude and
100%. Because people want to give up. I mean, I had my arm thing, but I was also 100 pounds heavier than I am now.
See? And you know what he said? The universe was sending you some messages that you were like, how you put that junk mail to the side? It's like, okay, let me send the UPS guy. Hey, Monica.
I'm telling you, we all have our journey, but there's always an answer because, I mean, people see, like, when they would come to the yoga school, I had a little thing written up about me, and like, you could see people looking at me, and once they get to know me, they'd be like, how are you so happy in such a good place for where, like, after what you've been through? And I look at them and I go, you have no idea how grateful I am that I figured it out.
Baby, gratitude. We're like, why? Like, could you imagine if you had taken a different road 10 years ago and been just in such an unhappy space? Because there are people like that.
Oh, they love to wallow.
And
victim mindset.
Yeah.
That's a big one. And I tell everybody, I say, are you a victim or are you empowered to take your place?
Yeah.
And as soon as you say that to people, they're like, whoa. And I'm like, it was just rephrasing the sentence. That's all it was. And it clicks with people. It's how you talk to yourself.
Yeah.
If you're going to tell yourself you're not pretty, you're going to convince yourself you're not pretty.
Yeah.
If you're going to sit there and rip yourself apart in the mirror, you're going to constantly do that to everybody else around you as well. There's no need.
Yeah.
We're all unique. We all have our journey. We all have our different energy. And one thing I will say is I get along with everybody. I respect everybody. I can even sit there when people are screaming at me and like having like a hissy fit. And I'm just like, okay. And they're like, and
that makes people so angry when they can't take your power. It's like they get even more incited, like, why aren't you reacting? It's like, no, I'm not going to take my power.
You can't disturb my peace. And that is one thing I have learned through this whole journey. I kept getting humdingers. I mean, people hear the path I went down and they were just like, so it's not just your arm. And I was like, no, it was my arm. It was my weight gain. It was losing my dad. It was everything all within a couple of years. And I said, but I feel like that was my power center. You're always going to get presented a time in your life where it's, are you going to stand up or are you going to hide?
Yeah.
And a lot of people are just more comforted in the hiding or just accepting their fate. I say that in accepting because, well, that's what the doctor said. And I'm like, okay. But you also guys have to remember that you need to find the right doctor. There are a ton of doctors out there that are now preaching, try this. Hey, I've never done it, but I hear meditation's awesome. Hey, I do yoga every day and it really keeps me in a good headspace or something like that. Or,
now you have apps, like Calm and, it's like, wait a minute. It's like, cause sometimes I have a little bit of anxiety. It's like, okay, let's start counting backwards. Let me pull up some music, some binaural, beats. Let me get back into a space. I know what this is. Let me turn off the news. You know what I mean? Let me stay away. And even if you're not watching TV, the news is going to find you on social media. It's like, okay, you know what? I'm not logging in. I'm going to watch a movie. Whatever it is, we have to find to bring us back into a space. For me, it's like, okay, let me try this. Let me do this. So I am so inspired. I'm so glad to close this weekend, this space and time with just such a great conversation of inspiration and encouragement and reminder that it's mental, baby. It's
It
so
is
mental.
all mental. And
Mind, really mind over matter. I'm so glad you're at this place where you do have, you regained some usage and not, and you know what I'm saying? No, it's not 100%, but I'm just glad you took this journey so that you could be here today. What day is this? November
November 6th.
November 6th, 2020, to say, I did it and I'm doing
You got
it.
this.
It's a journey. Yeah, you got this. So for anybody, it's like, listen, Monte Pellegrino, like the water, is here to let us know you can get through some pretty tough times. Whether you've lost use of your arm or not, whatever your journey or whatever your cross,
Correct.
you can get through it.
Find that way back
Attitude.
to what I say. That's why I named my business Namaste Lit, because now when anybody comes near me with those vibes or thinking, I'm like, nah, I'm gonna stay lit over here with
Yeah.
my good energy. And
Yeah.
I want to teach you how to feel lit too. And people are like, because everybody was saying lit was like, yeah, let's get lit tonight. No, I'm going to teach you how to get lit all on your own, off your
Yeah.
breath and off your beautiful thoughts and embracing that beautiful person you are inside.
Because you got to be an advocate for your peace.
Absolutely.
Right? You have to be an advocate. It's like, oh, when people would try and engage me, you know what? I would, I've gotten used to it because I know my place. It's like, you know what? I can't do this. And
Correct.
we'll walk away.
With no guilt.
It's like, and they're still going, and I'm listening, and it's like, okay, I can't do this. And walk away. You can leave them hanging and talking. I don't care if you think it's rude. This is not good for my spirit and my soul.
I love you so much because I feel the same way. It is never, and I think everybody should take that piece of advice with any encounter you go to. If you see someone walk away or someone disengage when you're doing something, it is because it is not matching their energy. And it is no offense to you. And everybody wants to take everything personal nowadays. I'm the queen of the Irish goodbye, which is when you just disappear and don't tell anybody. And I'm queen of it. And it's not to be offensive. If I see the energy shifting in the room and I don't want to be part of it anymore, I'm just kind of like, I'll see you guys later.
Do you see this? Do you see what happened as a blessing now?
I 100% do, because I have to be honest. I don't know if I could have took care of my dad during his couple last years if I didn't do this. I will say that definitely helps. But I wouldn't be the yoga teacher I am. I mean, the way that my students gather around me and just tell me all the time, make a YouTube channel. I'd watch you every day. You're funny. You're inspiring.
Yeah.
You're just you. And I said, I'm authentic.
Yep.
And that is, and it's not someone, and we all want to be authentic. And that's embracing your weird and your bad times too.
Yeah.
And everybody thinks, oh, if you're authentic, you just have to be happy. And no, you just need to be you at all times. If I'm upset, I'm going to tell you I'm upset. If I'm sad, I'm going to be sad for a second. But I have a rule of thumb. And I think it was Rumi who said this, like emotions, they're like guests in your house. Let them come in, let them visit, feel it.
Yes.
And then let them leave.
Sit with it. And then it's like, okay, get up.
Exactly. All right, cool.
It's like, it's like I'm a little angry. When I call my girlfriend, it's like, I'm feeling this right now. This is how I'm feeling. And I know I'm not going to stay here, but I need to acknowledge what I'm feeling and how I'm feeling. Tomorrow, that's another day. But right now, this is how I'm feeling. Because so many times people want to kind of box us in and, tell us how we should be. Authentic, it's like, it's so revolutionary. I'm so glad that no one got to choose how I could be. Because I don't want, maybe I didn't like that flavor. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
You know, you can only have you know, orange sherbet, but it's like, but I don't like orange sherbet, you know. But if everybody had to eat orange sherbet, it's like, oh my God, you know.
I say it all the time. I love that everybody is different. If we were all the same, the world would be very boring.
Yeah.
It's just that we all have to understand the concept. We're all cut from the same thread.
Yes.
We just have our own human experience.
Absolutely.
So some of us are going to go through journeys that are medical. Some of them are going to go through like family life things.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, some of us go through all of it. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It's not saying one person has it worse than the other, and that's the other thing. People are always trying to compare or one up somebody or try to get into that space to be in the same energy as you. And it's like, I respect your journey as much as you respect mine.
Yeah, that's what's up. That's what's up.
You
Seriously.
have to. I mean, everybody's going to take their own energy and their own path, however they want to take it. I'm not stopping them.
Because I got to tend to my house. And it's like that. I'm not running out. I'm tending to my house. So, you know what I mean? I'm not running out. No, God, no. Just be. Because I'm giving, when I give people a license to be, I'm really kind of setting it up for you to not expect anything less from me.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? It's like, oh, be free. And don't come over here trying to tell me not to be free. Right?
I tell people that all the time. The more you hang on to something, whether it's people, places, things, emotions.
Yeah.
The longer the attachment you're making and a codependency you're making, and it's just going to make that break 20 times harder. When if you would have just sat with it for a minute when it first came up and you were like, this doesn't feel right. Lean into that.
I used to feel bad that I have a detached style of dealing with people and things. You know,
it's the way to do it. It's not because if you're not detached, you become codependent.
Yeah.
So it's saying, I care, I respect you, but I have a boundary. So I still have to stay in my space and you have to stay in your space.
Yeah.
A lot of people, when they're upset or angry, they want the mob with them, right? They want everybody to be like, yeah, this is mean, this is bad. And it's like, or that person can go, I know you feel that way right now, but there's a solution outside of that.
Yeah. Yeah.
But we all want to get that collective energy, and it's always that energy that's too high, and people are just they're not seeing the end of the tunnel. They're just seeing all the darkness swirling around inside the tunnel. When if they would just turn around, they could see a way out. Yeah.
We girl.
And, you know, this isn't easy. I mean, you and I will both say this to everybody right now. This is not easy to be this type of energy, but the way it works is it goes, is this disturbing my peace right now?
Yeah.
So, and I want to be at peace. So it's okay to go, I'm going to take my peace over there.
It's kind of like brushing your teeth. You got to brush your teeth every day.
Sure do.
There's not a day you should never miss brushing your teeth. It's the same way. You've got to do whatever it is you've got to do to tend to your energy, your personal space, and I think we have to really become accustomed, and I don't know what it's going to take, but we need to get used to having boundaries, upholding our boundaries, and honoring boundaries.
Self-love and self-care. That is all part of that. And that's why I tell people, they're like, well, I don't have time to do like an hour of yoga and go get a massage. I'm like, that's not always what I'm talking about. Self-love and self-care is also getting rid of the toxicity in your life.
Yep.
If it's a human as well.
Yeah.
That is just a small step as well. I'm not saying you got to work out for 2 hours a day or anything like that. But acknowledging what's not healthy and getting rid of it, no matter what it is. And
you could be working out and then coming home to some toxic mess, going to work with some toxic situation or a toxic person or doing something, it's kind of like I'm working out, but yet, I'm binging or whatever it is,
Yep.
So it's again a holistic approach. It's not going to look the same for everybody, right? It's going to be based on what your capabilities are, what your limitations are, and not so much the limitations where how you overcame, but it's certain things that you may not be able to do yet, so you start like a baby. You take those baby steps, you walk around the block, how they say, and then you run in the marathon maybe 2 years later. It's the same approach with anything. You just start here. It's like, I'm going to turn my phone off when I get home, at least for an hour, or I'm not taking work home, boundary, or I'm not logging in. So in the morning, I'm going to take this moment to listen to some music, write in my journal, the things, right? Whatever it is, do yoga, light a candle, whatever it is. So it's like making those solid decisions for yourself and honoring those boundaries, honoring the boundaries, upholding the boundaries, and having boundaries.
And then you'll attract people in your life that respect your boundaries.
Yeah, they have boundaries, and it's like, whoa, it's not hard over here.
And that's the thing. It's like knowing what you can and cannot do. And it's like, for me, there are certain people I know in my life that I love them very much.
Yep.
But we have very limited time together, because once we start talking about certain things or whatever, they still hang on to their past and bring up their past a lot. And for me, I'm like, I've moved past that. Like, it's done.
Yeah.
Like, your past. Like, we all have a story, of course, or if you want to share things, that's fine. But if you're living in your past, we need to get you back into that present moment.
Yeah.
So, and then you don't want the anxiety of worrying about the future either. So it's about appreciating every step that you have, no matter what it feels like, labeling it pretty or ugly, because that's what everybody does. I don't want to be angry right now. This feels ugly. And I go, okay, well, in order to work with anger, that means you need to work on your patience or forgiveness. And people are like, well, how do you know that? And I said, that's the opposite of anger, is patience, right?
Yeah.
And they're like, oh. And I'm like, so even your anger is teaching you something. You just have to listen. But if you don't listen and acknowledge what's happening, it's going to keep coming up in that negative fashion, in anger, frustration, disgust. It's okay to have those, but it's reminding us of what we need to call in and what we need to focus on. And we're all very guilty of unhealthy boundaries.
Yeah.
And saying yes when we need to say no.
Yeah. Yeah. Monica, it has been a great experience. It has been a joy talking to you. It lets me know, we talked about it in the virtual green room, like energy, and it lets me know that, okay, it's confirmation, affirmation to keep doing, learning, but also keep doing what you're doing. Appreciate how far you've come and what you learned, and willingness to learn more so that you just become your highest self. So today was truly that conversation for me, and it has nothing to, like I said, it has nothing to do at the beginning of your journey, because you were being proactive then, just to go in and say, hey, check these lymph nodes, check, so, but you didn't stop there in your journey. You know what I mean? You didn't stop there, and we appreciate it. For taking the time today to come on the show and encourage us, whoever will watch my replay, they will be encouraged like I've been, for sure.
I appreciate that so much.
Stay lit. Stay lit.
Stay lit, my friends. Stay lit.
Stay lit, baby.
You deserve it.
Yes.
You deserve it.
Yes, we do. Thank you.
Everybody deserves to be lit and happy 24/7, even with those little hiccups of those emotions we want to label as negative. It's all going to lead you to exactly where you need to go. Lean into the experience and then get yourself lit.
I know that's right. Thank you so much. Have a great weekend. And It was great. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Yes. Namaste.
Namaste lit, my friend.
I just realized namaste lit. Oh my God.
There you go.
So we'll talk to you soon.
All right. Thank you.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.